Yeah, it's that little Chico Pitbull. You already know what it is. This right here is
Authenticity Radio with Slade Suiter.
L. Miss Worldwide. I'm rising so high out of my mind. Mark Anthony. So let it rain over me. Let it rain over me.
And now, your host, who has the hospitality of a fat and jolly innkeeper, Slade Suiter.
It was the 3rd of June, another sleepy, dusty Delta day.
Hello and welcome. We are back with creation. We are going to create.
And my brother was bad and hay.
And we've already covered the pillar of freedom and the pillar of empowerment. The pillar of empowerment, the last program. And today we're going to cover just a minor detail, creation.
To wipe your feet. Then she said, I got some news this morning.
And who better to cover this than our friend Kal Malik returns with us. Kal.
Hi there. It's great to be back again, Slade.
Welcome to you. It's really wonderful to have you back on the program. And you know what? If I had to give your presence a name, it's kind of like a fresh breeze.
Thank you.
Yeah, a fresh
Thank
breeze.
you, but you always have to remember that we are reflections of those who we're kind of in contact with. So you bring out the fresh breeze in me, Slade.
If people want to be negative, they can say, "Oh, you're full of wind."
I don't mind. You see, the notion that you should have is you take whatever somebody says to you and translate it into something beneficial.
Thus you start strutting again.
Absolutely.
Okay, so here we go. Now, creation, you gave me an outline today, which there are 5 points, by the way. And the first point is answering to the question of what should I? The next is creating you.
Yeah.
Followed by a whole new way of living life.
Yeah.
And expressing spirituality, your authentic self. I do love that name.
Yeah.
And then in energy terms, what would this be in relation to the heart chakra?
Yes.
So, answering the question, what should I do, Kal?
Yeah, because what we covered in the previous conversation was in empowerment was, okay, so now I am free from reacting to a situation in the world. What should I do? Okay, so before a situation occurred and I've learned to respond, and habitually I will respond in that situation. So I might go home and my spouse or my partner might start on a subject XYZ, and I'll immediately respond from a position, of defense or being right or something like that. So now that I have been able to exercise the gap between an event and a response, what should I do? Okay, what should I do? What can I do? What should I do? Where does, if the response action doesn't come from habit, where can it come from?
So the question is, what should I do?
Yeah, what should I do? So
I asked you first.
Well, the answer then comes from what in ourselves can we draw that answer from? Okay, and the answer to that question is our heart.
It's a provocative question.
It is. We can come from other places. We can come from, I'll respond from fear, or I'll respond from anger, or I will respond from, some other source. But what what creation says, what the creation pillar says, is that we should respond from our heart.
And before you go on, this question actually derives from the phoenix, and also we've already worked on non-judgmentalism. And we've talked about our personal truths versus external truths, and embracing the beliefs of others. So this question comes from a lot of work that we've done already.
Absolutely, because going back to freedom, and that was freeing us from making a response based on what other people would like to see, so that we can become inclusive in groups. Okay, so we would do something that's societally acceptable.
So what should I do comes to a quiet place inside of you.
Yes.
And there's no pressure to answer it either.
There isn't any pressure to answer at all, no. And it is a quiet place, and it's quiet because we never ever really go there. Okay, most of our responses in the world are based on how we've been brought up, the kind of society, the kind of friends, the kind of environment that we've been brought up. All of that comes together to, at the moment at least, to answer the question of who am I? Okay, so even if you're in a conversation with somebody and you will ask them questions, so who are you? Or they ask themselves that question, who am I? Then they'll answer it with social answers like, I am this work that I do, or I am this within my family. I am a sister, I am a husband, I am a father.
Yeah, and it's interesting that whenever you ask that person that question, they will try to find any value around them and attribute it to themselves. And how interesting it is that you talked about in the last pillar that it's very hard for us to shine.
Yes.
To really reach inside and explain who you are.
It is. And I'm rather controversial in a particular area because...
No. No, Kal, don't tell me these things.
I am, because there's the thing, we have this word called ego. Okay, and it's thrown around a lot by many people, and it's often something that we hit other people on the head. Oh, you're being egotistical. No, I'm not. I'm shining. Right? And I always say to people that ego is a social thing. You can't be egotistical on an island when you're on your own. Okay, what are you going to? People might say, well, I am better than you. I am better than everybody else. But if you say that on an island, it doesn't mean anything.
Well, the coconuts would look at you in a strange way.
In a strange way, yeah. Well, in a social setting, in the middle of a town or a city, and you went out and shouted, "I'm better than all you people," then other people would turn around and say, "You're egotistical. You're being egotistical." But I find that's a really strange word, and I rarely use it because, to be quite honest, I don't think there's anything wrong with a healthy sense of ego.
Well, there you go. I think you just touched on it yourself, because there seems to be a healthy, which in turn is an unhealthy sense of ego. There's a destructive and a constructive. Now, the whole, and maybe this will be another program that we can have fun with, is to learn the difference between the two. And embrace, I love this word of yours, to embrace the healthy sense of your ego and decide not to do battle with your own ego anymore.
Yes, absolutely. Conflict has got to stop. Okay, that is the thing. And whether you give up to that conflict and say, do you know what, you win, whatever the conflict is inside of you, or, whether you triumph over it, isn't, again, that's just a measurement of like some kind of attempt to measure success and failure and so on. It's the conflict that's the problem. Okay, it's conflict that destroys things. That's what we've got to get out of our system. These like little mini conflicts.
Destroys. And you're speaking a language that I love. This creation business is a good business to be in.
Yes, it's the best business.
So are you talking about creating you?
I am talking about it's the ultimate question is that who am I?
And so you're making it reflexive, so it's creating me.
Yeah. And I don't mind if people use the word that I am discovering myself versus I am creating myself. because I don't think there's that much of a distinction between the two. So, if some of your listeners are there thinking, no, I discover myself, then that is fine.
Well, discovery entails that it's already in existence.
Yeah.
And creating is not in existence quite yet.
Yeah, well, the kind of slight issue that I have with discovery versus creation is that when it's creation, you can become anything, right? You can say, well, I have discovered that I am like this, right? But that's fine. And then you could also say, well, and you know what? I am going to create it so that I am something different.
Ooh. How about recreate? We can have fun with this. How about rediscovery and acknowledgement of who you truly are? Because that's where all the creation actually comes from. And that's the creative element. So it's kind of like a forge we're talking about. The creation and the rediscovery of what is and what has always been.
Yeah, and the thing is that again, people kind of like have I'll look around and find something and then be like that person and do that kind of thing, and which is fine in one sense, but in another sense, we have to be careful that we're not going out and being like somebody else because we've seen what they've got from that.
It sounds exhausting when you said that. I just felt like, what an investment of energy you're talking about, of having to go out and to be like. And that's different than what you were suggesting in the other program about being around those who have a fire within them.
Exactly.
Because you're not trying to be like them, but you're being around people that already have this fire that's kind of going inside of them, this enthusiasm in life. And that's contagious, but you're not trying to actively seek to be like them.
With creation, we are looking at the word creation is about creating yourself, first of all. But in the process of creating yourself, and after you have created yourself, then by the very nature of creating yourself, you've also created the world around you as well.
Okay, like you're sending out the waves.
Well,
the impact of who you are, and as you create yourself, you're actually impacting other people.
Well, there's that as well, which is kind of on a more visceral scale, but on a more perceptual scale. A kind of truth that comes down to us is that the world out there is pretty much like the world in here, right? So the kind of like things that you see that you might judge as being wrong or right out in the world are really things inside of you that you need to consider. Okay, so when you've creatively changed who you are, then by that process, it's like you've changed the glasses the spectacles that you're wearing to see the world. And so the world there's nothing in the world that might change, but the way you see the world will change.
Which in turn will help change the world.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. So this could lead to a whole new way of living your life, which is your next point.
Yes, absolutely. And then once you are understanding of who you are, once you've gone and built that up, because here's the thing about discovery, okay, discovery could take eons, okay? I'm still in the discovery process of finding out who I am. And you're thinking, no, okay, while you're doing that, as a sideline, put in some bricks of like actual creation and say, well, I'm going to create myself instead, or as well as discovering myself. Or while the discovery process is going on, I'll create myself. Okay.
And even if you just add the word allow to create, because that seems to take away the force element of having to create.
Yes.
So you're recognizing things, you're allowing things to take shape, and you're kind of growing like a plant would grow, like a flower would grow. Instead of having to say, oh, since I've said that, I need to seek out and do things to help me to create myself.
Well, I kind of agree with you in one sense, but we have to be careful because the kind of person who you are now or who, for our listeners' sake, the person who they are now is a person that they've allowed to become.